will never go away. It'll always be with me. And I think I saw somewhere the sadness is a reminder of how much he means to me. Just feel like, I did something right in life with him,
We will never know, I don't think any of us will never know what the truth is, And you're talking about so many different, there's so many different aspects to.
Malcom Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica. Joining us now, Bomani Jones, host of the Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast.
Regina King just confirmed what fans have been saying for weeks now. Malcom Jamal Warner didn't just pass away, he was taken out. And whatever he was about to reveal before his death clearly had somebody scared, because the way this all played out, it was too clean, too sudden, and way too quiet. As you guys probably already saw, the reports say he drowned in Costa Rica. But what they didn't say is where he was staying, who he was with, or how it even got reported in the first place. There were no details, just a statement saying he died from accidental submersion. And then everything went quiet. This is a man who didn't move recklessly. He wasn't spiraling, and he wasn't in hiding. He was grounded, respected, and still working. So, for something like this to happen, at that exact moment, it doesn't sit right. And what really pushed fans into theory mode was what he'd been working on. Malcom had a memoir in progress, one that was said to name people directly, not for clout, but to finally tell the truth after decades of watching everything unfold from the inside. The timing and how fast it happened, it wasn't just weird, it felt planned. And Regina King's reaction didn't make it feel any less suspicious. The second the news of Malcom's death went public, Regina King shared 2 quiet Instagram stories and then disappeared. She didn't speak to the press, she didn't write a long caption, and she didn't acknowledge the drowning at all. Just 2 slides, one with a photo of Malcom on a motorcycle, and 1 sentence. Some people leave a lasting imprint, not just for who they were, but for the energy they carried. The next post just said, "Ride in power." At first glance, it sounds simple, but when you read it again, something feels off. She's not talking like someone reacting to a sudden accident. She's talking like someone who already knew what this was. She never said rest in peace. She never used the word drowning. There was no mention of shock or sadness or how unexpected it was. It almost felt like she was trying to say goodbye to someone whose fate had already been decided. Like this wasn't just a loss, it was something she'd already processed. And here's the thing, Regina doesn't post often, and when she does, it's never random. She's extremely intentional with her words, especially when it comes to death. After her son passed in 2022, she stayed silent for weeks before saying anything. And when she did speak, it was measured and deeply protective. Take a look at this moment where she finally broke her silence.
Grief is a journey, I understand that grief is love that has no place to go. I know that it's important to me to honor Ian in the totality of who he is.
So the way she moved here, it's not surprising, but it's definitely not normal either. And when you consider her history with Malcom, someone she lived with, someone she trusted, you have to ask why she didn't say more. Or maybe the better question is, why couldn't she? And the more people started digging into what Malcom was working on before he died, the more suspicious the whole thing started to feel. Because apparently, that memoir wasn't just telling his story. It was calling out everything he was told to stay quiet about. The parties, the closed-door deals, the victims who were never supposed to speak again. And the wildest part? Some of the people involved are still out here like nothing ever happened. He was reportedly collecting stories that never made headlines. Before his death, Malcom even opened up about how the Cosby scandal affected him personally. Not just because of what was exposed, but because of what it revealed about the people he once looked up to. Watch this clip where he talks about how hard that chapter really hit him.
Honestly, my biggest feeling is I feel sad for, just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come about, and when you've done so much wonderful so many wonderful things for so much of your career.
There's a theory going around that Malcom wasn't writing this book alone, that he was working with 2 other insiders, both with legal backgrounds, to fact-check everything before it dropped. That's how serious he was about getting it right. He wasn't looking to sell drama. He was planning to tell the truth. That's when fans started speaking up. One person commented, "It's too many stories. It's nauseating, just like Angie Stone. I am surprised that Malcom drowned because he was known to be a good swimmer. Rest in heavenly peace, Malcom." And another said, "Very suspicious. Why would he be swimming in these dangerous waters with his young daughter?" Now, as y'all know, Malcom wasn't the first, and unfortunately, he won't be the last. The entertainment world has a long, disturbing history of silencing people when they start talking too much or digging too deep. We've seen this cycle before. Someone speaks up, the industry goes quiet, and then out of nowhere, that person steps back, loses everything, or ends up gone. Look at what happened with Isaac Kappy, who called out Hollywood's elite before mysteriously falling off a bridge. In this clip, one of Isaac's close friends breaks down why he believes Kappy didn't take his own life, and that the whole thing was staged to look like an accident.
The thing with Isaac Kappy, that's personal to me. Your biggest issue is the things that Aquino and his group taught me to do are fun, and I'm really good at it. Enjoy the dark, brother.
Now, Regina isn't just protecting herself, she's protecting the story. Her silence, her vague posts, her complete disappearance from public view. It's not just mourning. It feels like fear, and y'all can understand why, especially after seeing what goes on out here. Because, as I mentioned earlier, she knew Malcom better than anyone. She knew what he stood for. She knew what he was planning. And if she's not coming out and pushing for answers, it's probably because she already knows the cost. I mean, even people who have tried writing memoirs before have ended up dying mysteriously. And yes, I'm talking about what Jaguar Wright said a while back when it comes to prominent people in the industry. In case you missed it, here's that interview segment.
Andre was writing a book right before he died. Heavy D was working on a book before he died. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died. And Al B. Sure was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma.
Now, some fans are even speculating that Regina has access to the memoir, that Malcom may have sent her pieces of it before he died, not for her to publish, but to keep it safe. And that could explain everything. Because if what he wrote is even half as dangerous as people are claiming, then holding on to that truth is a huge risk. And it puts her right in the center of something she never wanted to be part of again. So maybe she's not silent because she's clueless. Maybe she's silent because she's next. Now, this whole situation with Malcom has fans going back and looking at other cases. The ones we brushed off, forgot, or never looked into deeply enough. People who vanished from the spotlight. People who ended up dead after threatening to go public. Some were tied to powerful families. Others had industry connections that were never fully explained. And every time, the story got buried. The press moved on. The truth never came out. Malcom didn't want to be on that list. But now, he is. And what's worse is, we might never know what he was really trying to say, unless somebody comes forward. Unless someone close to him, maybe Regina, maybe someone in his circle, decides it's worth the risk to let that truth out. And here's the part nobody's really touched yet. And it's the one that could explain everything. Because according to a source close to Malcom, the reason he delayed finishing his memoir wasn't fear. It was protection. He was trying to keep certain names safe. People who were abused, blackmailed, or used as pawns in bigger scandals. And I mean, it all does make sense because once he hit publish, it was going to blow everything up. Not just for the abusers, but for the survivors too. So he waited. He sat on the drafts, he circled around it for years. And when he finally decided to push forward, everything stopped. If that's not suspicious up to this point, guys, I don't know what is. But there might be some hope yet again. We might actually get to see what he had worked on, and Regina doesn't even have to risk her life for it to happen. There are rumors that a digital copy of his manuscript still exists. Maybe in the cloud, maybe backed up on a drive he gave to someone he trusted. And if that's true, that means the story's not over. So now, every day that passes without answers, that's just more time for people to clean their tracks. But eventually, if that file surfaces and the names in it are real, the entire industry could collapse. And the people who've been silent this whole time, they won't be able to hide anymore. That's why they needed Malcolm gone. That's why they're hoping we stop asking questions. But if even one person breaks ranks and releases what he left behind, it's game over. And somebody in Hollywood knows that clock is ticking.